أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله. This is the podcast of Deen of an Old Woman. I just thought it'd be nice to have just a brief look at Surah Al-Asr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes our condition, what we are doing in this world, what we're doing now, and how we should live in this time now in order to obtain eternal bliss. And it's a very short surah, but it's very concise, it's very precise, and it's full of extremely useful meaning and in-depth understanding of reality. And once we grasp the surah, it's easy for us to navigate in life. Ultimately, that's why Allah sent the Quran as a mercing, a healing, a book of light, so that it guides us. It guides us to our goal. It guides us to a destination. It guides us to our path, to the correct path which leads towards Allah. Because as I said many times before, we are all on the spiritual escalator, which is taking us all back to our Creator and our Maker, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Asr, Allah describes human condition. So He describes our condition, and He says that we all are drowning. And this image of drowning is worrying. We have to take note of it. We have to wake up from this slumber that we're going through life like an autopilot, where we do everything, we get up and we work or we study, we come back and we eat and you sleep, and no, we have to wake up because it's urgent. So that tells us we're all drowning. We're drowning in this world of time and space. Because none of us can stop time, or none of us can break out of this space or this environment. None of us. We are in it, and we are drowning unless we know how to navigate ourselves through the teaching of the Quran. And subhanallah, look how our Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a way of life in which we can swim towards happiness and tranquility. Subhanallah. Do you know, when you look at the whole creation and you look at the heavenly body and you look at the sun and the moon and everything, it's swimming in orbit, in a precision, in giving benefit to everything around them. And how we're supposed to swim through life and space. And Allah tells us, He didn't leave us blindly fumbling. He's given us a clear book, the Quran, to show us how to go through with this life. Everyone has been given equal opportunity, no matter what race, gender, nationality, blah, blah, whatever you are. We all have the same opportunity to navigate this life in a harmony and peace and tranquility. So in this little Surah Asr, Allah tells us that all human beings are at loss, except those who establish true belief, the belief that encompasses in La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, that there's no one, nothing, absolutely nothing that is worthy of our focus, our attention, our obedience, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah tells us, those who will succeed and who will not be at loss are those who have four things. To believe, obviously, first of all, to have a belief. That's the foundation of our reality. That's the foundation of our consciousness. That's the foundation of our very inner being. To have belief in one true God. And that to know that He is the one worthy of worship As you know, in Salah, we say as 19 times, "Oh Allah, it's only you we worship, and it's only you we ask for help." And subhanAllah, when we reflect on those two sentences, it's quite amazing. We human beings, you and I, are either in a happy place or we have challenges and difficulty. These two conditions we all go through. And when we are happy, we worship Allah, we thank Him, we show gratitude to Him. And when we are having a difficult time, we ask His help. Look how this Surah Fatiha, these two verses, encompasses all of our lives. All of our lives. So the first thing is to have belief. And the second thing is, when you have this strong belief, inevitably we are going to do good deeds or good actions or doing good in life or living in a better way, being a good human being, being a good citizen. So when we have good belief, it'll show in our action. So when people give a lip service to a certain faith and the action is showing something else, you know they're not sincere. They're not sincere. And they're not being genuine to themselves. So Allah tells us that the first thing is to have belief, the second thing is to do good deeds, and the third is to advise and encourage or influence each other in doing good deeds. The Prophet, peace be on him, said that if you want to judge a friend, look at the way. If you want to judge a person's character, look at the friends they keep. And we are recommended to have good friends. Because good friends means that we will be in a good place. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, a believer is a mirror of a believer. Subhanallah, what a beautiful analogy. It means your believing friend will tell you exactly the truth, so that you learn and you grow from that critique of yourself. It's no use having people who are not sincere or who are just around you just because they want something from you or because you make them laugh. No, Islam is much more serious. It really, targets the core value of our humanity. So Allah tells us that the third advice is to encourage or influence and persuade each other to do good. So when you see somebody who's going to do something bad, you encourage them and say, no, don't do that. Do what's good. And not only will you be rewarded, Allah will reward that person as well. Number 4 is reminding each other to remain patient in the face of hardship and giving them hope and reminding them of the mercy of our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There comes a time when we all face challenges. We have a down of life. We have difficulty. We're in a place that's not good. Normally we say we're in a bad place or in a little dark place, or however you want to coin this difficulty you're going through. At that time, to be patient, not to lose hope or not to do something crazy, but to be patient and to understand that time will pass. And having hope in the face of hardship. And Allah tells us when we remain patient, this is a form of worship. So when things are not going good in my life, I remain patient and I have hope that Allah will change my condition, and I supplicate, I communicate, I have communion with Allah, I speak to Him, I pray to Him, I make dawah to Him, and to remain patient. So these 4 things are things that we need, which we found in Surah Al-Asr in the Quran, that tells us how to live our life, to have belief, and then do good work, and then to advise and encourage each other to good works, and finally to remain patient in the face of hardship. This surah, some scholars have said, has encompasses the whole summary of the Quran in few lines. The first thing, as I've said before, is that what we have to do is to have firm faith in one true God. It's absolutely with 100% certainty that He's our creator, He's our caretaker, He is our nurturer, He is our protector, He is director of all our affairs. He's with us wherever we are. He's closer to us than a jugular vein. To be aware and to be conscious of it. And subhanAllah, some say that Allah created us, that He gave us the ability to breathe, and the breath is the reminder of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So can you imagine, there have been people in the past, and especially there might be even now, who remember, who do dhikr and shukr with every breath. How wonderful is that? How wonderful is that? So all existence is totally dependent on Allah, and He is independent of everything. To Him we are returning, as each day our journey towards Him and our final end be with Him. So we have to be ready or prepare our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah says He loved to meet those who love to meet Allah. So the more we know about Allah, the more we see His signs, the more we deduce from the signs the beauty in creation and the precision and the function, and then we marvel at our Creator, and then gradually we start falling in love with Allah, and then we would want to meet Him one day. And Allah says He would love to meet us. Can you imagine this Creator of the whole universe would love to meet you and I? Subhanallah. I also want to look at how we human beings have been created with just one attention span, which means that we can only focus on one thing at a time. That's where we've been created. Allah tells us He has not put two hearts in a human being. We have one heart. Therefore, we can only focus on one thing. And Allah is one. We are one. The Quran is one. There's a great wisdom in all this. So that we've been created with just one attention span, whereby we can only look at one, or reflect on one thing only, or focus on one thing only. So for example, the example of this is that if I were to say that a glass or something like that, the image in your mind will portray a glass from 100 different glasses. You will have a particular glass. The image will come into your mind. It shows that we can only focus on one thing. Although there are hundreds of different glasses, there are different patterns with some gold on it, with some silver on it, some bronze, some are made of steel, some are made of glass. But we will only focus on one, because it shows our ability is only to focus on one thing. So this shows how Allah has put this fitra in us to be aware of one thing only, because Allah is one, He is unique, He is the Creator. He wants us to focus on Allah primarily, to prioritize Allah in our life, and then other things. So, subhanAllah, the other thing is that, obviously, philosophers of old Greek tradition, civilization, and the other philosophers, they always tells us that nothing exists without a cause. There's always a cause. Always. Every child knows. Even if a 2-year-old, you will play with a child with a ball, and then you see the ball, you put it behind a sofa or a chair, they will go around it and have a look. Because our fitra is that we know things have a cause. They don't just pop up. And the cause, the true cause, Allah who who created the whole universe. One, you have certainty that Allah exists and that He is closer to us than a jugular vein. This means that our feeling, our emotion, our mood, our state of being, our psychological being is determined by how close our relationship with Allah. And subhanAllah, when I was young, it was very difficult for me to comprehend. And I'm sure most listeners perhaps are also finding it difficult to grasp. But if you break it down, it just shows that when you have close relationship with Allah, Allah will take care of all your needs. We don't need to worry. We don't need to have stress. SubhanAllah, I was listening to one of the scholars today who was saying stress and anxiety cause so many illnesses, and they also hasten old age. And when you don't have stress, anxiety, or high blood pressure, whatever it is, you don't age that quickly and you have good health. Subhanallah, look at that. So it means that we should rely on Allah all the time. Take our problems to Allah. We can complain to Allah. Subhanallah, look, when we complain to somebody who's close to us, they get fed up because they can't perhaps do anything about it, and if you repeat thing again and again, Allah never gets fed up no matter how many times you complain. And Allah is the one who can actually alter and change the thing that we are complaining about. So we really have to nurture and develop this really close relationship with Allah. And one of the other aspects is that how much are we representing Allah on this earth? Allah said we are His Khalifa, His representative, which means that we have to see the activity Allah does and how His creation functions, so we draw lessons from it. And subhanAllah, it's quite amazing that as a representative of Allah, as a Khalifa, we can create wonderful things. Subhanallah, even if you look at a little spider web, that's how all this internet was created. Somebody thought about the connection, how the web is connected, and that's why it's called WWW, the World Web. So when we act like a Khalifa, the most things that we need to do is that Allah is to become like Allah, is to see that His most dominant and recurring description is His mercy and kindness and forgiveness. As being His Khalifa, we should also display this characteristic so that we can be true to ourselves. When we are compassionate and kind to others, there's a mechanism within us that gives us deep, deep satisfaction. Wallahi, and I challenge anybody that they go and interview somebody who works in a soup kitchen or somebody who's helping the homeless and measure their amount of contentment in life, and then go to a multimillionaire who has helicopter and whatever have you, and measure their level of contentment. I guarantee you, the one who is compassionate and giving will be more content in this life. It's a simple equation. The more we act like Khalifa of Allah on earth, to be compassionate and kind and forgiving, the better we'll feel. And look, subhanAllah, not only do we feel good in this life, Allah will give us eternal bliss, which is paradise. So this, Allah has breathed His spirit in us, and deeply encoded in that spirit is to be compassionate and kind. We just have to activate it. And it's activated by many things: having faith, doing good deeds, worshipping Allah. And this mechanism becomes activated. So this essence essence or light that's deep within us, once it becomes active, it leads to good action or good behavior that not only benefits ourselves but all those around us. And subhanallah, and ultimately this will lead to eternal bliss. Quran is very clear that the day of judgment is the day of accountability. It's what we did in this life we have to give account of. So the more we're good in this life, the heavier our scales will be on the day of judgment. Be sure that every action we take in this life right now will have a direct result in our current life and in our eternal destination. The third component of this is having faith and doing good works. The third is to encourage others to do well and to create a safe environment where everyone flourishes in a happy life. So you guide everybody, you direct them, you tell them what's good for them. You are genuinely you want good for them. The fourth and final command is to encourage each other towards patience. All tribulation in our lives hinders growth. So our learning and our relationship and our state of mind is affected by that. Sometimes we experience things that do not necessarily go our way, and we become impatient and distressed without realizing that things that happen to us which are not in our control are directed by Allah, and there may be a greater wisdom and benefit in it, why it occurs, why a certain thing has occurred. Sometimes we find the wisdom in this earth after a little while, a few months, for years. Sometimes we find it in Akhirah. But our task is to remain patient and to believe things that happen to us which are not in our control, Allah is directing them, and there's a greater wisdom. We have to be absolutely sure. And there are things that we can't control. So it's no use trying to beat ourselves about it if we can't control those things. We just have to see things which are under our influence and what our responsibility and duty is towards those things, and try to work with that. So in conclusion, we can say that Surah Al-Asr reinforces the 4 often mentioned principles in the Quran, which is the main theme is belief or iman, and that it tells us why we need to believe and the benefits of the belief. Subhanallah, isn't it wonderful that our mind normally goes to why, and the Quran answers us why we need to do good deeds. So this taking care of it and doing good is for yourself, towards others, and we have to be mindful of the rights of others on us and the rights of Allah on ourselves and whole of creation. So we have to go through life being careful, being mindful, and that primarily to make sure that we believe in certainty. When we have certainty, we have happy, free minds, and we're not doubting or not confusing. And certainty comes from the Quran and the Sunnah. May Allah enable us to have those 4 principles of Surah Al-Asr and to live by them. Thank you.